Welcome to the NBD podcast, the show where we dig into what's actually working or not when it comes to scaling businesses with the people who've been there. Our guest has definitely been there. So why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, tell everyone where you've been, where you're at, where you're going.
Hey there, Annie Tsai. Today I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Interact. We are a 10-year-old bootstrapped startup. We make online quizzes, and online quiz software for thousands of customers around the world. Over 450 million people have taken a quiz on our platform over the years. Prior to that, have an exit through Intuit. I've worked for public companies, but I'm best known for helping grow and scale startups.
So when you first start working with a startup, what are areas of opportunity that you look for in order to help them scale and overcome failure?
I really like to spend the first few weeks and month maybe of my days there really just kind of digging in, rolling up my sleeves, learning how people work and getting an understanding of the motion that people are going through. Um, Typically, there are a lot of really easy, quick wins that you can sort of copy paste from other experiences that you've had, things around how the operation moves, how information is going from one team to another, where data is stored and saved, reporting and transparency. Those are all really important things to sort of get people on the same page and moving the trains at the same speed on the train track. Those are like easy, quick wins that you can sort of instill up front. The second thing that I really love doing is sort of getting a sense of who the players are on a team and who has under leveraged skills that we can kind of bring into the fold, because inevitably everyone's just working really fast, working really hard, and they're not taking the time to sort of assess what the toolbox looks like within their organization. And so those are kind of two easy areas. And then we kind of dig into the more strategic stuff.
Got it. So yeah, that first step, getting to know who the key players are, how essentially organization functions, helps you identify kind of what's going on. Is there anything in general that you see maybe at a higher level of helping where you see points of failure that are going on that you're able to step in? And maybe it's more of a longer term play. And how do you approach identifying it, communicating it, strategizing the solution, and executing?
Yeah, typically when I come in, there's frequently a conversation going in where the CEO and I talk about what they see. And they may already have a point of view, and as an example, that point of view might be um, activation and churn are our biggest challenges, or top of funnel is not big enough. We need to figure out a way to expand that because the conversion rates below that are good enough. But if we can get that top of funnel to 5x what it is now, then at the same conversion rates, we'll be growing at our target 30 to 50 to 75%. And so the CEO will have a point of view already, or the other leadership will have a point of view already. And that will be sort of the strategic lighthouse at the beginning. However, what frequently you'll see is that there are a lot of things that are happening within an organization that impact our ability to achieve this one goal. And so you really got to think about, okay, well, if top of funnel is the objective, and the conversion rates are what they are, they're acceptable, but maybe they're still 50% benchmark. And so you can get those up, right? You can do a couple of tweaks on activation, a couple tweaks on churn and retention to improve those by 20%. Then even if you get 3x on top of funnel, or you achieve 5x on top of funnel, then you're really adding velocity at that point.
Hmm. Yeah,
Once those points of view are established, then we start building an operational.
okay, yeah, I wanted to ask a question based on you saying 5x it, because a lot of times what I see, if they want to just go after 5x without doing those additional incremental 20% to hit that target that they're currently at, I find you start hitting diminishing return at a certain point.
Yes,
So
that's
what
right.
and I think people don't realize it because we get called in all the time to like, hey, increase our top of funnel. And you're like, well, you're hitting your primary ICP right now. You're going to start branching out, and then you get into the awareness portion where your cost of conversion goes up, but you're doing this for long term. How do you go about that? Like, let's say that they're dialed in with you get to 20%, and then they start going, hey, that's great. We got up 20%. And then you start increasing it. And now they watch that conversion rate or that cost per acquisition start to fall as you move up and increase your audience pool. What's your techniques to make sure that leadership understands that as you move further away from your particular target ICP who converts at a high rate and start getting the awareness and education portion out, that they're going to see a dip and that they need to be ready and invest for it?
Yeah, I think it depends on where they are in terms of understanding who that ICP is, and how defined that is. It may be that they are currently selling to an extremely niche market that is very well defined. And so, in the process of expanding the top of funnel, we also then have to go through the process of identifying what those expansion segments look like, the size, the scope. And have the conversation around what expected returns might be given new market entry. Now, it may be that they have a very general top of funnel, and what it takes is less about just spray and pray with more of those keywords, and it's more around verticalizing and niching down a little bit more so you can sort of improve the conversion rates at the highest levels and maintain at the lower levels. I think where people tend to get really excited is by turning on the hose to maximum immediately, and that can actually cause more trouble than starting with a drip to prove that in these new markets you can replicate conversion rates, or in these new sort of expanded ICP targets you can replicate those conversion rates, because it could be that a couple of those keywords work for your target audience, but for this audience it's much more nuanced and you need to refine that, and you don't want to sort of burn all of those leads up front.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, segmentation is definitely a key aspect of that. And and I'm getting more into the granularity of it just because it's like, this is what people need to understand. Like, you just don't, we're going to increase it 5 times, it's going to work. It's like, no. So what's your process to test out a new potential segment or new potential market or niche?
I love doing market research with people who are existing customers and sort of fall into that adjacency. And so I think where a lot of startups fall into a trap is they have a target audience that works, it's not big enough, and they say, okay, we're going to go into this completely different vertical, and we actually don't actually have customers in there, but we know it'll work. Where I think you can find more success faster is by mining your current customer base and finding sort of these expanded market opportunities within your customer base and starting there, and sort of building that updated ICP profile based on what we know is working in that target audience. And everybody has them. Everybody has sort of non-ICP customers that have found a way to make it work on your platform anyway. But taking a little bit of time to mine your existing customers and finding those people, I think will go a long way. And just spending a couple days on that, I think will be really helpful.
Yeah, that's, leveraging your data. It goes back to initially what you're saying and making sure the data structure is correct, where it's being stored, right? It's such the foundation of everything, because there's so many nuggets in there. And it comes down to knowing what to ask and look for a lot of times, because everybody's in this, but no, segment it by industry that clients are, and then you may have some outliers and then reach out to them. Do you have any favorite questions to ask current customers to get info about how you can use messaging from them to go into a new market?
I love hearing stories, sort of customer stories from people who work in the company, conversations that they've had with customers, customer service conversations, customer success conversations, sales flow conversations. So I love when a company has proactively decided to record everything because, you can use today you can use AI to just dump all of that stuff in there and extract insights by role, and that can be really helpful in very, very quickly pulling together sort of a customer experience map for delight moments, for messaging that works by ICP, and that could be a 30-day project turned into a 6-hour project.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's wild right now.
Still remember reaching out to code teams for that. Take them a week just to give you basic
Totally.
demographic information.
I know. It's
Um,
wild.
yeah, one of my favorite questions to ask a client now is, "What would you tell our friends about us?" Like, I love that question because then hopefully, a lot of times I'll get the real question, the real response, like, "Oh, as if I was John or Jane," and because when you tell a company leave a testimony, I find it's very static, like, "Oh, the company did really great. This person worked with me really well." But when you're talking to your friend, like, "Oh, these guys are great. They did this, and this. I don't have to do this anymore." Like, it's just more of a conversation. I find that good for messaging across because you could just change one word in there, and now you got some good strong messaging.
Yeah, it's
And
a great
then
point.
yeah, like Grok for calls, right? I know it could be pricey, but like just being able to record like through CallRail, download the audio, upload it into an AI agent, and now you got some details. Turn it into transcript.
For sure.
So many ways that companies could do this. So now you've extracted that message. You got some good messaging. You've got the potential market based on your current market or your current client list to identify to go into. What's your next steps now into testing and seeing that this is going to be a qualified market?
It's really honestly about putting together a couple of small tests, whether it's a social media test or a paid test. Organic, like Interact grew up solely on organic content marketing. And so, we never did a ton of paid. And it was the first time, the last 6 years have been the first time where I've really dug deep into organic content marketing and leveraging SEO for that. But it's been really interesting because you can very meaningfully still impact sort of consumer awareness. It depends on where in the funnel you're trying to target, and I think being really specific about that is important. But for people who are problem aware out there and align with your ICP, testing a couple of messages through content and through communities is sort of has been a really effective way for us to see, okay, is this going to stick, or does this completely get ignored? Are we getting one person that's interested, and can we talk to that person to learn more? And so there is a little bit of like testing that has to happen with those initial runs, but always start with a small target audience and never spray and pray. That's sort of my method.
You said one of my, I don't know why it took me so long to get to this point. One of my favorite ways now to develop messaging is unaware, problem aware, solution aware.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it made everything so much simpler breaking down. Because when you look at the funnel and it's like awareness and the research phase, and I'm just like, man, that's all it is. They're just unaware. They know they have a problem. They're just unaware of what any of this is.
Yeah, I think marketers really, still, a lot of marketers are not attuned to this question of content needs to be specific to the point in the funnel that the potential customer is, not where we want to place them. And so they may sort of, be aware of our solution, our product, but unaware that they have a problem.
Yeah.
And how you might talk about, talk about this topic to them would be completely different than, like, you're not going to talk about features of a product, right? And so that part matters a lot. And where in the top of, even the top of the funnel, you click into that once and it expands into 10 layers. And so being really specific about where you are targeting in that part of the funnel is going to be important.
Yeah. And then awesome. So you've got it. You got your messaging. You're identifying your points. You talk about organic, but let's say that I'm a company and we want to find out real quick, so we're going to leverage a paid campaign to get in front of people,
Sure.
so we can start driving. How would you structure that and get in one structure, two, identify your KPIs so that way this is a potential good market to continue to scale into, or let's cut them off and try something else.
Yeah, my favorite way to test paid is to test secondary keywords against competitors.
Mhm.
Like
Oh,
the primary keywords are hard because it's so flooded already,
it can be
and
broad. Yeah, it can
yeah,
be.
yeah. And so secondary keywords, uh, doing the competitive research to understand, what those secondary keywords are within your competitor base in that new market for target audience, and then testing those specifically for paid, it can be really helpful.
Got okay. So you drive that in. You got a landing page. You're messaging
Mm-hmm.
your different points. Now, are you leveraging Google, Face, or Google Meta? Are you ever on Quora or Reddit to try and get in some of the conversations there? I find that for
Uh,
unaware that it helps build the audience
Reddit
pool.
Reddit is interesting. I actually built an agent and to because the Reddit API has open access,
Mhm.
so you can build
Yeah.
in Python. And so I built a Reddit agent to do uh, high top of funnel intent tracking. And there was some conversation, but the hard part I think was that it was so high in the funnel, it would take a lot of conversation to sort of move them down, as opposed to content marketing that is evergreen. So
Mhm.
if you're in Reddit, you have to continue the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Got it.
I love that Reddit is the only social platform that has an open API, so it can be really helpful for research.
For sure. I built scrapers for it to identify what's going
Mm-hmm.
on in subreddits. If there's so
Totally.
many things, people need to take advantage
Mm-hmm.
of that because
I
it's
know.
easy and it's cheap to do if they know how to use these tools like
Right.
NNN that I'm using to pull it. But you're writing Python, which is way more advanced than anything I'm doing.
It's
Um,
fun. Yeah, it's fun.
Awesome. Okay, so now you get people, you get them on the hook. What's your next step? You doing to convert them? You doing a demo? Are they automatically logging in, doing a free trial? Are they
Yeah,
signing up right away?
we have a free forever plan, which doesn't allow them to publish it, but they can use the product and try it out for as long as they want. And then we have a 2 week trial period, free trial period that they then convert to a subscription after that. So they can have a 2 week period where they're actually publishing and testing our product in market with their audience. Today, we have about a 65 to 67 trial conversion rate from paid trial, which is a pretty high
Very
benchmark
high.
for sort of our ACV. Um, and so we're really proud of that. But the free to free trial conversion rate ranges anywhere, depending on sort of the time of year and sort of who's coming in. We can sometimes get a lot of people who are non-ICPs, like students, for instance, that want to make a quiz or whatever. But when they are actually an ICP, the conversion rate can be anywhere between 20% and 40%, which is pretty high.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That is really high. That's great. Um, awesome. So that's it's interesting because the path that you do and you help the company the same path you're doing with where you're at now. Do you find that your competitors are ever trying to poach you, and how do you prevent them from like targeting your brand and trying to steal your consumer base?
We, it's been a really interesting competitive journey because we've been around for 11 years now. And during that time, there were sort of tranches where startups would go after a bunch of venture capital funding and try
Mm,
and go upmarket and enterprise and all of that kind of stuff. And inevitably, they would sort of, take an acqui-hire route, or they would kind of go away. And we've been the longest standing sort of Typeform and Qualtrics have a baby kind of solution for forever.
mm,
And our customers now, and people coming in today that are problem and solution aware, know the brand and they know us as a reliable and easiest to use brand. And so we, I think, have stood the test of time, which we're very fortunate to have done. But it really, I think, shows that just building a great product that's super easy to use and providing great service to them is still fundamental. Like, you cannot not do those things. On your earlier question about the sales flow and the sales process, what we added a couple years ago was something called a strategy call. So I built an agent that looks at all our freemium, our free signups, and everyone that, and then used AI to enrich that data. And everyone that matched our target ICP we put out an offer for a strategy call. And that's a 30-minute conversation with someone on our team. We have a small team, 9 people. This year we did 380 strategy calls, and the conversion rate on that is very high.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, and it's because people they have an idea of what they want, and sometimes you need validation that that's the right way to go, and sometimes you want to hear that there's a better option. And so those conversations have been really successful. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Superhuman as a product for email. But in the early days, they used to get a lot of criticism for doing a 30-minute onboarding call for a $30 a month product. But that single conversation, once it's set up and activated correctly, what they found was that the lifetime value of the customer was tremendous. It went on forever. Nobody ever canceled. And so it was completely worth them for them to invest in that up front.
Yeah, and lifetime value, people need to look at lifetime value. The initial subscription for the month, look at lifetime value. How long are they staying? Because that helps you with what you do with your cost of acquisition.
That's
and
right.
everything that survives around it. And I feel a lot of businesses we speak with, they get so focused on that first month for subscription. And it's like, this is not how it works. You need to take a loss up front because it's your lifetime. If your product's not good, it doesn't matter. Like, then you're focused on the first month. But like, if you really want something, people stick around. Awesome. So if someone's listening right now trying to scale, what's one piece of advice you wish you had earlier?
Don't stop talking to customers. Yeah. Never stop talking to customers. And if you ever question whether or not you should save a piece of data or track something about a customer, because you think it might not be worth it, it's probably going to be worth it at some point. So don't sort of take the cheap route on your tracking and your analytics and storing data. One day it will be helpful for you. And so that would be my piece of advice.
I agree so much with that. Measure everything, because it's a lot easier to have data stored than to try and go back and figure out what was going on.
That's right.
So awesome. And where can people connect with you or learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, our website is www.tryinteract.com, and feel free to reach out anytime.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.